Hey there, Gary Parrish. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do to that like button. Shouts to Brandon Davies. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel. Please also do that while you're here. Let's get into it. Busy weekend in the sport. Two main storylines, I think. Auburn star Johni Broome, who has been the favorite for National Player of the Year for much of this season, and whose team is ranked number one right now in the top 25 and one, and should move to number one in the AP poll on Monday, suffered an ankle injury in the Tigers' win at South Carolina. Imaging has been completed. No surgery is required, but the 6'10 senior is out indefinitely, according to school officials. Meantime, the Cooper Flagg hype train, it has arrived. Viral dunk midweek in the win over Pitt. Then on Saturday, the Duke freshman took 14 shots, made 11 of them, finished with a career-high 42 points in the 86-78 victory over Notre Dame. He was 11 of 14 from the field, 4 of 6 from three, 16 of 17 from the free throw line. The 42 points are a single-game record for a freshman in the ACC. In other words, Michael Jordan, Len Bias, Christian Laettner, Tyler Hansbrough, James Worthy, not even Leaky Black. None of them ever did as a freshman in the ACC what Cooper Flagg did this weekend as a freshman in the ACC. I actually think the two stories are connected here. Auburn and Duke, Johni Broome and Cooper Flagg. As recently as last week, Auburn was the favorite to win the national championship in the betting markets. Right now, it's Duke, according to FanDuel Sportsbook, at plus 500. Auburn plus 600. Iowa State third at plus 900. For much of this season, Johni Broome has been the leader for National Player of the Year. I know, Norlander, you would have agreed with that statement as recently as last week. Do you still agree with it? If I gave you $1,000 right now and told you to put it on one person to eventually win National Player of the Year, would you still put it on Johni Broome, or would it be time for you to flip it to the great Cooper Flagg?
We got a great topic to lead this show, and there's so much to get to from the weekend. My thanks to the Bills and Broncos, by the way, for making that not a competitive game. So we squeeze you in on a live Sunday afternoon. All right, now, it's narrow. You're asking me to pick, and this is our poll question too. We'll get to the results a little later in the show. Who's going to be the National Player of the Year? Cooper Flagg, Johni Broome, or anyone else? The field. I would take Broome narrowly. Now, my different question is, who's the leader right now for National Player of the Year? Right now, it's Cooper Flagg. Agree?
If it's Cooper Flagg right now, I'm willing to go with it's going to be Cooper Flagg at the end. To the extent that it's a conversation for me, I would say maybe it's still Johni Broome in this moment, but Cooper Flagg is gaining, and Cooper Flagg will pass him.
All right, so we don't know how long Johni Broome's going to be out. Spoke with the source earlier on Sunday morning. He's definitely out for at least the next 2 games, but the length of his rehab is unknown. Auburn's going to go play Mississippi State at home on Tuesday. Then they're at Georgia next Saturday. Then they don't have a game. Every SEC team, as I understand it, gets at least 1 week where they go 7 days without a game. For Auburn, perhaps fortuitously, that's going to land later this month when they will go 7 days at Georgia, and then they host Tennessee on Saturday, January 25th. Right. Don't know if Broome will be back for that or not. Was told they are not going to rush him back. Quite obviously, as you'd agree, GP, even though neither of us are coaches, you want to have him as strong as possible for the games that mean the most. So if that means sitting him an extra game or two, when if it was the tournament, he'd be able to go, they're not going to force that issue. This is the second time already, GP, by the way, that he has had an injury issue. He had the shoulder thing. Remember, he never wanted to miss a game. He played Purdue. Remember, we were like, is he going to be out a couple of weeks? He didn't even miss a game. This one, he will be out.
That's one where I think I actually said something on the pod. Like, if you leave the game, however he left the game, I was like, you shouldn't be allowed to. I don't know if I was talking.
Yeah, anyway, you were saying, if you leave the game like that, if you, I can't remember what you said.
You're not allowed to play again right. And like Auburn fans or somebody thought I was being serious, and that became a social media topic that I was trying to change the rules of basketball.
Yeah, well, that's about par for the course. I do think that Cooper Flagg overtook Johni Broome this weekend. I was driving back from Maryland. I was in there Friday night. We'll get to that at the end of the pod. But anyway, point is, I was on the road when Duke won, so I didn't see Flagg's game. I saw the highlights, but I didn't watch it all play out and see the cadence and volume of it in real time. And the same thing with Auburn's win at South Carolina. They get a narrow win after Broome goes down, and it did look bad, but they get the win on the road, and they dodge what might be the worst team in the SEC. We'll see. So that was important for Auburn, who's going to, by the way, jump to number 1 in Monday's AP Top 25. Will only be the second season ever Auburn's been number 1. The other one was just a few years back with Jamari Smith and Walker Kessler and co. But I do think that what Flagg did, coinciding with the fact that Broome is now not going to play for at least 2 games, and I don't know how long it could be. It could be only 2, maybe it'll be 3, 4, or 5 games. We'll see on that. I think Flagg has overtaken him. And what's I did think when you were talking about this on the pod a week ago, I thought you were a little ahead of schedule, and it turned out that that was the case in terms of Cooper Flagg isn't quite as big a deal yet as I thought he'd be. I said, give it a little more time, and lo and behold, we've got the big time performance and the dunk against Pitt, followed up by this game, which was the best game of his career and one of the best games we've seen from a player this season. 42 points, 6 boards, his 7 assists tie a personal high. He hit 4 threes in this game, which is a very big development if it continues to be a trend for what he is as a prospect, let alone his impact on the team overall, GP. It's the 13th. I got a few nuggets here on surrounding Flagg's performance, and we can dive even deeper into this. Into this debate. 13th time ever a Duke player has scored 40. The last time we saw this period in Cameron was 2006 with J.J. Redick. I thought this was an intriguing note. He was the first Duke player to have at least 35 points, 5 boards, and 5 assists in a game since his coach did it, Shire, and Gardner Webb in December of 2009. That's a really, really cool note there. And in getting the record for a Duke freshman, it was previously held, if you're curious, Zion Williamson. But also, I remember talking about the Jared McCain got 35 a season ago as well, and he matched Zion's record there overall. But, man, incredible that he did this, that he did it on, was it 14 made field goal or 14 field goal attempts? 42 on 14 is insane. I know a lot of those came from the line, 16 to 17 from the line. In fact, him and Redick, when Redick did that back in 06, Redick also got a 40-point game on 14 field goals. The only Duke players to ever do that. Just damn impressive. And Notre Dame's just the thing about Broome went out of the game, but Auburn and Duke both get wins against, just okay teams. That's immaterial to me. I thought Flagg's historic performance coinciding with now we're not going to have Broome for a couple days here and what he's done. To me, he has taken the lead on Broome. I would, if we ended the voting tonight, I would vote Cooper Flagg over Johni Broome. But the reason why I'm saying if you had me pick one or the other, I'm going to project that Broome isn't out for a consequential stretch of time. To me, if he let's say he doesn't play in the Tennessee game, and let's put him back at the game after that. I don't even know what it is. I don't have.
It's at LSU on January 29th.
Let's say return at LSU, which maybe he returns for that, maybe they don't. But let's say he misses 3 games. To me, that's not enough. And I do believe that if Auburn maintains, if it wins the SEC or finishes second in the SEC, which is a much, much, much better league than the ACC, and if Duke goes undefeated in the ACC, then we got to. But let's see if they can do it. They can do it. I still want to see a GP. I just think that the slope of difficulty for Broome in the SEC, and if he can keep up with his numbers, I think ultimately that will narrowly win out over Flagg if he's able to keep up his numbers, if he doesn't miss 5, 6, 7 games. But he had a very comfortable lead for the first 6 weeks of the season. Flagg had been closing it over the past 2 weeks, and I think he has narrowly overtaken him as of Sunday afternoon.
Just on Johni Broome real quick and how long he'll be out, I think you make an important point that after the game at Georgia, they do get the whole week off. That lands at a perfect time. After that, it's at LSU on January 29th, at Ole Miss on February 1st. That's the next 6 games. The 4 you mentioned, plus at LSU, at Ole Miss. That takes us through the next 3 weeks. Again, we don't know how much he'll miss. We don't know anything more than at this point he's expected to miss at least 2. But it could be 4, 6, who knows. Isaiah Leonard, the great Isaiah Leonard, who works in research, CBS Sports. Last night I had him look it up.
Oh, are we getting a non-Bursa name drop from GP? Let's go.
Hey, there's more where this comes from. More where this comes from. No, I was just sitting there. I was like, okay, how many games can you miss and still be a reasonable candidate for National Player of the Year? Like, what's the precedent for that type of stuff? Zion Williamson missed 5 games in 2019 and was still the runaway National Player of the Year, like not even close.
Runaway is the right way to frame that. He was the runaway player of the year.
Now, he was a statistical monster, unlike anything maybe we've ever seen. Highest PER in the history of college basketball, since that has become something that they track. I heard a few people say over the past couple of days things like, he's the best freshman since Zion Williamson. I think that's a totally reasonable thing to say. When you start saying he's better than Zion, now you're getting into a place where we're just not
there.
Yeah, we can't. We're probably not going to get there.
Right.
At least not as a college basketball player. So Zion missed 5 games and still won National Player of the Year. So there's precedent very recently. You can miss 5 games and still be the National Player of the Year. Evan Turner back in 2010 missed 6.
Oh, yeah, that's a great GP. That's a great callback.
Zay got that. I didn't get that.
That's a great callback by Zay, because I remember there being a lot that would have been the last season the season before I joined CBS, and a really healthy debate around Evan Turner and should he be the National Player of the Year, given that that's a good callback, GP. But a worthy winner that season all the same.
Yeah. So in theory, Johni Broome could miss 3 weeks and there's still precedent for him to be National Player of the Year if he was clearly the National Player of the Year. So there's that. The reason I would predict it's going to end up being Cooper Flagg is because I think we're here. It was like, I think we're exactly where I wondered less than a week ago. When are we going to get here? We're here. This is it.
Yeah.
It was like last Tuesday on the CBS Sports Network show we did. I actually said he needs a highlight. And then he went out that night and got the highlight.
6 hours later.
Yeah. Got the highlight. And then yesterday it was, that's one. The point I made last Tuesday is, why are we not turning on Get Up on Tuesday mornings or Wednesday mornings? And they're just talking about Cooper Flagg. Some of that's NFL playoffs, college football playoffs. I got it. Football's king. But we're there now. Cooper Flagg's, I'm not producing their show, but Cooper Flagg's going to start becoming a topic in sports that transcends college basketball. We've arrived, and the stuff he put together yesterday. Got this one from Kyle Boone, Strong Jaw. Kyle Boone tweeted the 42 points on 14 shots, third most points on 14 or fewer shots in the history of college basketball since such things have been tracked. You don't see performances like that hardly ever. So we're here. Whatever you were hoping Cooper Flagg's going to be, and you can almost see it. I know you weren't watching the game because you were driving. Yeah, you can see it. He's just getting more comfortable. I'm not a basketball player, but I've talked to a bunch of them. When you get to a place where it's like, oh wow, okay, so I can do that here. I can do that at this level. Okay, so this works. You just remember early in the season, like every time he'd get to the basket, he was just losing the ball. They were just taking it from him. Well, now that's not happening anymore. Now he's punching it on people. He's comfortable. He's confident. He's playing it's here. The Cooper Flagg thing, it's here. And my prediction is it's going to be the biggest story in the sport for the rest of this season.
Few things. One, if you're watching live on YouTube, appreciate everyone chiming in on a Sunday. But you'll notice that we're doing this bumping up on 4 Eastern. It's been a minute since GP did the YouTube voice. And so now I am going. I look like I should have been on the field during yesterday's Chargers-Texans game, because now the sun is hitting on my face. We never podcast at this time but for about a 3-week period in the winter. I know this because occasionally I have to do like a 4 Eastern HQ hit. I've got this little half crescent window, and I don't have a shade over it. So if you're watching right now, and now the sun is literally right on my face. If you're listening, you don't care. But I at least wanted to address it to everyone watching live. And what's funny is we just talked about this with Parrish doing it in the mornings in his Manhattan hotel room, which is where he is now. But you don't have to deal with this because the sun's not in that angle. So that's
my hotel room right now is facing east, so I have sun problems in the morning. Yeah, my sun problems are gone right now, baby. It looks good outside right now.
I got sun problems for, I'm guessing, another 5 to 6 minutes, then that'll dip down under the window ledge and we're good to go.
I can see it right there. I can see it right there in Orlando. You know what's right down there?
What?
That's where Luigi got that guy.
Okay, let's keep it moving.
I just keep looking. I stare at it all night long, every night. That's just, I look at him
my whole life. KB, that's a heck of a nugget from him. Some Strong good stuff there. Katie Sharp level research on that end. I do wonder about Flagg, Duke, the hype. Speaking personally, I think you would probably agree with this. In fact, I would hope you agree with it. I'm not going to be influenced by the fact that he's wearing Duke across his jersey as to who I think will be the player of the year. And our player of the year gets voted on going into the Final Four. And frankly, if Cooper Flagg is really awesome and Johni Broome's really awesome and it's really close and one team makes the Final Four and the other doesn't, that might wind up even being our tiebreaker once we get to that in April. There is a very intriguing statistical anecdote attached to Cooper Flagg that will carry a lot of weight if it winds up continuing to be the case. Cooper Flagg right now leads his team in points rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. 19.1 per game scoring, 8.3 boards, 3.9 assists, 1.6 steals, and 1.2 blocks. He's going to wind up leading the team in scoring. Knipple is second, and he's 6 and change behind him. That's not gonna switch. Rebounds, it's not gonna switch. He's comfortably ahead. Assists is probably going to remain the same because he's at 3.9. In the meantime, you've got guys like Sion James, Con Knipple. They're at 2.8 apiece. He's likely to lead in the 3 most notable and important categories there. And then steals, it's a comfortable lead, and blocks, it's we'll see if Malawach winds up catching him or not. But that the fact that he could be that guy that leads him in those 5 major categories is certainly a big one. As for Broome, and keep in mind now he's had 2 games that have affected his averages because he leaves early in the Georgia State game and then he goes early in the second half over the weekend. He's now at 17.9 points, 10.7 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 2.7 blocks a game, shooting 59% from the field. So in and of its own right, those are great numbers, but had he not gotten injured, it's fair to presume that he might be closer to, say, 19 points a game and maybe 11 and change for rebounds per game. But both are so statistically really impressive right now. We do have a poll up, not a flip on that, Mike. I'm curious. I'm going to guess that the split here is because we had Flagg, Broome, and the field. I'll say it's like 50% Flagg, 40% Broome, and 10% the field. What's the return in right now?
You would be somewhat close. It's 57% Cooper Flagg, 20% Johni Broome, and the field is at 23%.
That's a higher percentage on the field than
all right. Who is the field? Identify the field.
I got some names for you. Again, these are periphery, okay? But the guys
right now, it is a 2-person race.
I would agree with you, but the guys who are maybe outside the velvet rope, but if their teams continue to play well and they were really, really good, I'd say Cam Jones, clearly the third guy in line, clearly the third guy. And then you got guys like Chaz Lanier had a couple of down games. Eric Dixon, we talked about him being a first-team All-American. Mark Sears has played a lot better as of late. Alabama could be a 1 seed. Purdue, Braden Smith, I wouldn't put him in this bucket, but Braden Smith is going to lead the nation in assists, and Purdue could win the Big Ten. We'll see. And then Walter Clayton's been good at Florida. But I'd say Broome, Flagg, draw a line, Cam Jones, draw a line, and then everybody else. I will not put it out of the realm of possibility that if Marquette gets hot, wins the Big East, Cam Jones continues to be a stud. He can definitely get in there. Everyone else, you're going to need some big-time performances. But I would say that's the field right now.
Well, I mean, I might have taken it a little too far there. It does feel like it's a 2-man race. I don't know that it's only a 2-man race. Cam Jones, my little homie from Memphis, obviously he's doing what he's doing for a top 10 team. That's National Player of the Year worthy. And then Mark Sears, I guess scoring 20 whatever doesn't sound like much when, somebody competing for the same award goes against 42 on 14 shots. But during this Alabama winning streak, because you're right, Sears got off to I don't want to say a rough start, but it wasn't. We named him CBS Sports Preseason National Player of the Year, and he did not get off to that type of start.
Right.
Although, if you don't mind, I would point out that when I submitted my ballot for CBS Sports Preseason National Player of the Year, the name on it was Cooper Flagg. But Mark Sears in this winning streak for Alabama has been posting similar numbers to what he posted last year when we watched him and then said that's the guy who should be the CBS Sports Preseason National Player of the Year. So Mark Sears can get involved. Cam Jones can get involved. But right now it is Johni Broome and Cooper Flagg. Last thing, we don't know when we'll see Johni Broome play again, but we do know when we'll see Cooper Flagg play again. That is Tuesday against Miami inside Cameron Indoor. Moving on, John Calipari is 0-3 in conference play for the first time since the 1988-89 season. That's not good. We'll discuss it next. First, let's get a word from our partners.
CBS Sports HQ, giving you college football coverage unlike anyone else.
We're talking Big Ten.
Pre- and post-game coverage.
Are you encouraged with the way that this team responded?
Along with breaking news.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
Highlights and expert analysis.
That streak could be in jeopardy here.
Sure. What was your main takeaway from this game? How impressive was his domination?
That really changed the football game.
Let's go ahead and have some more fun.
Another wild ending.
The chaos continues.
Turn to CBS Sports HQ.
Oh, there's been better days in the natural state. Arkansas, the Razorbacks, 0-3 in conference play, which means John Calipari, the first-year Arkansas coach, is 0-3 in league play for the first time since he was at UMass in the 1988-89 season. The Minutemen that year, I believe, started 0-6 in the Atlantic 10.
You don't believe. You looked it up. You aren't going off of instinct and memory.
No, I remember that. No, it was
I love
1980.
that. I want to say it was 0-6 back in 88, 89.
If I remember correctly, they were 0-5, and then big game coming up, and they dropped that one, and it was 0-6 in the A10. This predates my responsibilities as master of ceremonies, A10 media tip-off pre-pandemic. I was pre-pandemic, but not that pre. I wasn't that pre-pandemic. I was pre-pandemic, but not that pre-pandemic.
You weren't even close to that pre-pandemic, GP.
I wasn't even. This was not even on my radar. We have discussed biggest disappointments in the sport periodically throughout the season. Names like North Carolina, Arizona. I think Arizona's moving off that list, but Arizona was there. They have.
Both of them have. We'll get to Carolina before.
Yeah. Okay, they both moved off that. Rutgers might be headlining that list.
I agree.
We might need to talk about my Indiana Hoosiers.
We're going to get to them before the end of the show as well.
Is it Arkansas? Is Arkansas the biggest disappointment in the sport right now? All things considered.
I think it's fair to right now to say that Arkansas is a bigger disappointment than Rutgers because Arkansas had preseason top 25 recognition, John Calipari, everything heralded coming with that, some high-profile transfer gets, and expected to be, while not very few, I think we're putting them in the category of a Final Four contender. Certainly expected to be a team that would compete in the SEC, wear home whites in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and make a nice transition after a letdown of a goodbye season for Eric Musselman. Now that's not even close to the case. Rutgers, though, might miss the tournament altogether. Heck, this is where we have to introduce this now. Arkansas might miss the tournament altogether. So I would actually go maybe Arkansas 1A, Rutgers 1B right now, and there are a few others, and I would not put Indiana in that category yet, not by any means. Arkansas gets Florida on its home floor on Saturday. Now, this was the third straight time Arkansas played a top 25 opponent in conference play, and it's the first time ever the school has had 1, 2, 3 to start league play and SEC play against ranked opponents, so it has been difficult, but still, you got them on your home floor, 71-63, and you were up 11-2 to start the game. Florida shot 39%, its worst of the season. It shot 15 fewer foul shots than Arkansas, but the Gators punked them on the glass, 19-6, and now they're 11-5. I mean, they're 11-5, and I think there's a real chance. I truly kind of can't believe I'm saying this. I think there's a real chance that they could finish bottom 4 in the SEC. Your note about Calipari not having even started 0-3 since 88-89. That was his first year ever as a head coach. What was he, 27? It's wild. They have one top 85 win. Four of Arkansas's next 6 games, and all of them in the SEC, are on the road. Ken Pom projects this. I know you got this, but I'm going to jump you on it.
Yeah.
Ken Pom projects this team going into the SEC tournament to be 17-14 with a 6-12 league record. They will not be on the bubble if that's the case. The SEC is loaded, and even if you go 17-14 and 6-12 in the league, you're going to have a number of quad 1 wins in that stretch. They will not be on the bubble in my estimation if they are a 17-14 team. I think you'd want to be 4 games above 500 in the scenario that Arkansas has put itself with so far. So I think the starting point on this discussion is Arkansas the most disappointing team in the country through the first half of the season, because we've effectively hit the halfway point of the season this week. And then it is, are they going to bust in year 1? Are they not even going to make the tournament in his first season? I think it's on the table. I think it's about 50-50 proposition, maybe even worse going the other way right now. And it is an indictment on him and who he opted to bring over. He brought a lot of guys over from Kentucky, and there have been some portal quote-unquote gets that have been big misses. Janelle Davis is at the top of that list. I don't think he scored against Florida. It is a disappointing situation all around in Fayetteville, and I know that we've talked Arkansas plenty on the pod. Frankly, Calipari's there. They got a lot of stuff. They've been relevant, but with each progressing defeat, they're becoming less relevant and less worthy of discussion. But after getting this opportunity against the Gators on Saturday and blowing an early lead and not even getting it close to the end of the game, it's getting late early for Arkansas, and I don't know if there's any buyer's remorse yet. I think it might be too early to say that, but if you're already an Arkansas fan and you're like, oh, what do we got here? I don't blame you for feeling that way. We'll see if they can turn it around. I don't have a lot of inspiration for the next 6 on the road. This is probably going to get worse before it gets markedly better.
Go click on any video you can find of John Calipari speaking after a basketball game recently, And you'll see that it is mostly filled, the replies, with Kentucky and Arkansas fans saying the same thing about the same guy. Like that we're here. Like they're already – there is buyer's remorse happening right now. I don't know if it's warranted, but it exists. And I think missing the NCAA tournament is more than just on the table. I think it's a likely scenario at this point. I mean, when you're trying to flip your season in this league – after you just lost 2 home games to teams you're supposed to be better than. I know they're not better than Ole Miss or Florida, but in the preseason they were supposed to be. Arkansas was 16th in the preseason AP poll. You're supposed to be better than Florida, supposed to be better than Ole Miss, supposed to be better than Kentucky. You've already lost 3 games to teams that were below you in the preseason AP poll. 0 wins over teams that were ahead of you. They've got the win over Michigan somehow.
Thank God they have it, because if they didn't,
dude, they were down 15 in that game.
I was there. Trust me.
So think about if they don't win that one. If they don't win the Michigan game, what would be their best win? What's their second best win now?
I'm pretty sure it's Lipscomb at home.
It's
I'm
Lipscomb.
not at it, but I think it is. Yeah.
It is January 12th. You had one of the 5 biggest NIL packages in the country.
Yep, for sure.
And on January 12th, your second best win is over Lipscomb. You're 11-5 overall, 0-3 in the SEC, 1-5 in the first 2 quadrants. 1 win in the first 2 quadrants. I was just messing around yesterday. Let me tell you some schools that got more than 1 win in the first 2 quadrants. Central Michigan, Wofford, UIC,
they're not
Illinois State, Liberty, North Dakota State. You ready for this? UC Riverside, UC San Diego, UC Irvine.
Shouts to the California State University system.
I mean, they're overwhelming Arkansas right now. By my count, 3 programs from the University of California system currently have more wins in the first 2 quadrants than Arkansas. Like 49th at KenPom, 71st at KPI. KenPom prediction right now, 17-14, 6-12 in the SEC. You're doing all this with a top 5 NAL. Like, you secured a roster that most people believed on paper was good enough to be one of the 20 best teams in the country. And now you're about to miss the NCAA tournament with it, it appears. And when the only reason you're at Arkansas is because this is the same type of stuff that was happening at Kentucky. I don't know. It's just not good when you've reached a point where last season you're at Kentucky and everybody's talking about, is that the biggest disappointment in the country, or one of them, or what are they doing, or why aren't they better?
Mm-hmm.
And then you change jobs, assemble a similarly talented roster, and people are all just saying the exact same things. Like, I'm not ready to, say career over, but this is not working so far. That's clear.
This was a late career reboot, and the reboot hasn't happened yet. Maybe he'll need another season or 2 to find some sort of mini renaissance, if you will. But right now it's looking like it was all Calipari's issues at Kentucky, as there was, a repeated pattern and a vicious cycle for the most part of what Kentucky was failing to do when it mattered most, losing to ranked teams way more frequently than otherwise, and failing in the tournament. And now Arkansas is sitting in a very, very tough spot. I would agree with you. I think you're a little more aggressive than me right now, which it will probably prove correct. I would project Arkansas to not make the tournament right now. More likely than not, that they have the opportunities. Theoretically, they have the talent, they have the experience. What they don't have is the collective togetherness. This is a roster that is entirely new. The only player on this roster that was there a season ago is Trevin Brazil, who didn't play with any of these guys, and Brazil has not been what we once thought he could be as well. So it's really, it's all fascinating all the more that has been this, but an 0-3 start. I think your best, it's at LSU, at Missouri, home Georgia, home Kentucky, home Oklahoma, at Kentucky, and then at Texas, and then, by the way, home Bama after that. You got to hope you can somehow squeeze 3 wins in the next 7 games to have a glimmer of hope, and maybe they can, but that's the bare minimum to give yourself a chance.
It'd be one thing if he threw this team together in advance of last season and then was struggling with it, because then you could stand up and say, hey, look around the country, guys. Teams that are thrown together like this is what I had to do. But teams that are thrown around the country like this largely aren't good. Like, who do you think I am? Danny Sprinkle? What do you want me to be? Of Danny Sprinkle?
Jared Calhoun shouts.
Shouts. Because like trying to do this well, recent history before this season had suggested it's not easy. In fact, it's difficult. Well, the problem with saying that out loud now is like the guy who replaced you at Kentucky did the exact same thing. Had to throw a roster together in a matter of months. And by the way, threw a roster together that most people, when they looked at it on paper, didn't think it was as good as yours. I mean, we talked about this. Who's got a better roster right now? Arkansas, Kentucky, Louisville. I think we all ranked them in the same order. Arkansas, Kentucky, and then Louisville. Did you disagree?
I had Kentucky ranked ahead of the other two. But yeah.
Okay. Well, then I think most people did.
Small one, but I hear the point. Yeah.
So, now here you are. And even Louisville, by the way, it's starting to look better.
It is. Yeah.
So it's just, it's tough. And I don't know, like, this is the type of league, obviously best league in the country, arguably best league of all time, when you're already getting smacked around at home and the games just keep coming and it's quality opponent after quality opponent. I think it can become difficult to get your footing. Like, even if you're great, you're going to have losing streaks in this league.
Yeah.
So what happens when you're not great and you just lost 2 at home and now you got to go on the road for 2? It's just, I'm not optimistic right now. And he will have to, I think this is a reasonable thing to say, and I'm not trying to pile on, but he will have to adjust in some major ways. It's not enough to just say I'm starting fresh unless you start with fresh ideas and fresh approaches. Just saying I'm starting fresh because I'm now in Fayetteville instead of Lexington. Well, if you're doing a lot of the same stuff you were doing in Lexington and Fayetteville, you're going to get a lot of the same results.
Yep.
And this looks exactly like a disappointing Kentucky basketball team. That's what the Arkansas looks like right now. Ask Kentucky fans. Ask them if they watch Arkansas this season, what do they think of? The games, the press conferences? It looks like the disappointing Kentucky fans in recent years. And so it'll be interesting to see if this season goes where it's going, where it appears it's going, what type of things happen around that program in the offseason. Because if you want fresh results, you've got to deliver fresh ideas. And that doesn't seem obvious. That doesn't seem like it's obviously happening right now.
This is in the disappointing stage. We are about 3 weeks away from results, maybe even 2 weeks away from results of what you're alluding to, from disappointment to train wreck. We'll see if we get there or not.
And if it culminates at Kentucky train wreck.
There we go. Speaking of the SEC, that conference will lead a hearty whip around, plenty of results to get to, but we'll start on the best conference in the land and some of the few results of note. But first, let's get a word from our partners.
All right, Norlander. Johni Broome getting hurt. Cooper Flagg making history. Arkansas starting 0-3 in the SEC. Those weren't the only 3 stories in college basketball this weekend. Maybe the 3 biggest, but not the only 3. What else do we need to know?
Let's start with the Southeastern Conference. I'll give you a few results. Give me what stands out to you. Kentucky wins 95-90 at Mississippi State late Saturday night. Responds well to, remember, they lost by 13 on the road to Georgia earlier in the week. Played yet another highly watchable game. Kentucky's had I don't know. I didn't take the time to research because why would you do this? But I feel like 4 of the 10 best games I've seen this season have involved Kentucky. They've been tremendous. They were 16 of 32 from 3-point range in this game. There was a combined 72 trays taken between the Dogs and the Cats. Cameron Matthews had 19 from Mississippi State, which shot 43 pointers. Didn't have the time to research it. I wonder if a Chris Jans team has ever attempted 40 in a game from 3. If it's done it like 10 times before and I sound like an idiot, hand up, come find me, let me know. Kentucky had 6 guys in double figures led by Jackson Robinson. He had 27, his best game in a UK uniform. Ansley Almanor also had a couple of big threes in the second half to kind of reinforce Kentucky's run to get this win here. Kentucky's 13-3. Mississippi State has the better record. It is 14-2, and it let a good opportunity squeak away there. I will note this about UK. It's 4-0 against ranked competition this season. It's the only school. No team has a better record against ranked competition than Kentucky because it's yet to take a loss. It's played 4 times. All those teams were 14th or better. 3 of the 4 wins came away from Rupp Arena. The Wildcats averaged 92 points in those 4 wins, and they had 3 different scorers: Brea, Carr, and Robinson. That's Kentucky, and then a couple more SEC ones, and you take a GP. Bama won 94-88 at Texas A&M. These are actually all, now that I think of it, these are all road wins for SEC teams. Bama wins at A&M 94-88. The game took the game took 2 hours and 40 minutes. There were 88 foul shots, which was a bummer because it's a top 10 matchup. good on Bama for winning it. A&M got down big again. They're making something of a habit of this. Maybe a little bit of UNC in them. But damn, I just wish there wasn't so many foul shots. No Wade Taylor again. We don't know the nature of his injury. On the official report, it's a lower body injury. No indication of how long he'll be out. So maybe he'll be back tomorrow. Maybe he'll be back in March. We don't know. They could have used him if he was on the floor in the game. I do believe A&M would have won. Credit to Alabama, won 8 straight, 14-2 right now, 3-0 in the SEC with some really tough opponents to start. It's like the exact opposite of Arkansas. And GP mentioned Sears earlier, game high 27. He played really well. Aiden Holloway had 15. And then otherwise in the SEC on the road, Tennessee wins 74-70 at Texas. The Vols respond well to their beatdown against Florida. Zakai Ziegler, 16 points, 8 rebounds. As I mentioned earlier, Chaz Lanier, just 10 points for a second straight game, but credit to Tennessee's bigs, Felix Oxpara and Igor Milicic really did shut down Caden Chedrick and Arthur Kaluma well. Trey Johnson went off. He had 26 points, 4 threes. He had a stretch there where it looked like, okay, is Trey Johnson just going to go for 35 and will Texas to this win? Did not happen. Credit to Tennessee. Texas has some Arkansas on him as well. Lost 3 straight, is 11-5, and certainly a bit wobbly. So take it where you want. UK, Tennessee, and Bama all win.
The Kentucky stuff, I mean, I feel like I've said everything I know to say about Mark Pope in Kentucky. It's a great story. He's been tremendous out of the gates. And then we just keep seeing these little moments he's having with fans.
That's a good point. Yeah, tell the folks if they're unfamiliar. It definitely went viral and was really cool.
Yeah, recently there was the moment where he was like singing happy birthday to a fan at a restaurant. And, I guess everything that happens in Kentucky is going to go viral. But that's just a coach going out of his way to taking 2 minutes to make somebody's life. I know that's a hyperbolic statement, but you get whoever those people were, they'll talk about that forever, right? They'll have those pictures displayed in their home forever. And then yesterday, after the game at Mississippi State, because it's Kentucky and Kentucky fans travel everywhere, Bruce Pearl made this point yesterday after Auburn won on the road. He was like, we had Auburn fans here at South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Like we had a presence on the road.
That's a trip.
Right. And he said, this is what Kentucky used to do. I don't know if that means they don't do it anymore. I do remember being a kid and like Ole Miss playing I have a memory of this, Ole Miss moving a conference game against Kentucky to the Pyramid in Memphis to accommodate more fans, I guess.
That's good. Not surprising whatsoever. Yeah.
Like I have a memory of this. And I just remember going, my God, how are all these Kentucky fans here? It's Tuesday in February. And it was just, they were there. They filled the place up. So, Kentucky fans are at Mississippi State because they're everywhere. And they all come down to the court and, Mark greets them, takes pictures, whatever. But there's one fan who can't get to the court, is in a wheelchair. And Mark takes the time to go up to him and sit down and spend time with him. And I don't know any more than that. That's all I saw. But that's enough. It's, again, hey, I'm going to take 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. I'd love to get back on this bus, get back to the airport, get back home. I can take 5 minutes to make this person's life. Now, after a while, I don't care how generous you are, you will get tired of always taking 5 minutes to always make everybody's day because it can become exhausting.
Harris speaks from experience, I'm sure.
No, but like you see it with professional athletes all the time. Whenever you see a professional athlete like blow off somebody, I promise you when they were a kid, they could not have imagined doing that to anybody ever. But like you just get to that point. One day you're Chapel Roan just wanting to make music, and the next day you're yelling at photographers. I bet you never thought you'd be yelling at photographers. I
didn't even know Chapel Roan yelled at photographers.
Oh God, she's always yelling at photographers. She is so mad at everybody all the time.
I'm not up to date on my Chapel Roan news. I'm apologizing.
Oh man, I am. I can tell you all about it. She's just really, she got a quick trigger, buddy. She gets upset pretty quickly.
All right.
So anyway, Mark Pope, if he might get tired of it someday, he certainly hasn't got tired of it yet because he's just making memories one after another for fans. I love everything about what's happening at Kentucky right now. So that's wonderful. The Tennessee thing was interesting. They get a win, but Rick Barnes benches his best player, Chaz Lanier, at one point. And when asked about it post-game, did you see the quote?
Nada, do you have the video? Play it I think he's got it. Nada, do we have it?
I took him out first play of the second half because he didn't shoot the ball. That play was designed for that shot. And I told him, I said, if you're not going to do what you're getting paid to do, you sit over here because he is getting paid to do that.
How about that?
Okay.
Look how different that sounds when you hear him say it versus when you read it in print.
Oh, yeah, because it's with a smile, and it does. You're exactly right. It plays much differently when you see it as opposed to read it.
Yes.
But because it was a joke, as opposed to if you just read the quote, it's ooh, but it's not that at all.
Yeah.
I just love that and we've said all this before, but you could not imagine. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, you would whisper.
I know.
I wonder how much Chaz Lanier got paid to go to Tennessee. You'd whisper
like
about
it
that.
is. Yes.
Now it's like you're not doing what you're paid to do. I just love all of it. That it's just out there.
I just love the context of it. I love the fact that they're in a tight game. Barnes is justified, like in a coaching, like flow of the game coaching. Like, here's the play, you didn't do it. Sit your ass on the bench, and I'm pissed at you right now. But they've got a really good relationship. Lanier actually has a really good reputation. But he's like, you came here for a price. We're doing well. You're not doing what I asked you. You're not doing what you're paid to do. Go ahead and sit on the bench. I love everything about what transpired with Tennessee on Saturday.
Right. And this was a point I wanted to make about Arkansas earlier, and then we just sort of skated past it, or I lost it. But, Tennessee is always going to be able to go out now and buy the next Dalton Connect and buy the next Chaz Lanier. And we know Kentucky's NIL, and we understand what Alabama's operating with. If you're looking for other reasons why Arkansas or John Calipari specifically might have real issues trying to get back to the tip top of the sport, it's because there was a not insignificant amount of time at Kentucky where he was getting the best players. Well, he's not going to do that anymore. He's going to get great players. But like 10 years ago, AJ DeBanza goes to play for John Calipari. That's just done. That's the way that works. Now you don't even sniff that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just a different world for him. Different world for college basketball. I think it maybe impacts John Calipari as much as it impacts anybody else. Moving on. Alabama, A&M, another big win for the Crimson Tide. They're starting to look exactly like everybody thought they would look in the preseason, and they're doing it despite a significant personnel loss. I said this about Florida, I think, last weekend. When they lost at Kentucky, whenever that was, I was like, I'm impressed that they were in that game till the end. That says something to me about them. Even in loss, that's a nice performance and an encouraging effort from Florida. A&M, same thing. I thought A&M had a tremendous week, even though A&M went 1-1. To be without your leading scorer / best player, and get a win over a ranked team, and then go bucket for bucket with an Alabama team, I thought it was a good week for Buzz Williams. And speaking of videos that I like, go find the one of Buzz Williams pregame heading into Texas, Alabama. He just sort of Texas A&M, Alabama. He is just sort of told in the press conference setting, you realize this is, or tomorrow it's the first top 10 matchup in the history of Texas A&M, College Station. And he's like, really? He doesn't know. He's unaware. And he's like looking through the numbers.
Surprising for a man that provided a 217-page folio of why Texas A&M deserved to be in the NCAA tournament after getting snubbed. So I'm not even making a joke. It is genuinely shocking that he didn't know that.
I know, but he even said, "I'm going to write this in my journal." So he's got it now. Trust me. But Buzz created that moment, and I know they didn't get the win, but they showed themselves well without their best player. Most teams aren't going to be able to play Alabama well without their best player. Most teams aren't going to be able to play Alabama well, period. I thought it was a good win for A&M. And just a reminder that the league is loaded. Maybe not from top to bottom, but loaded in a way that is maybe going to end up being unprecedented. Right now, Auburn number 1 in the top 25-1, Florida number 4, Alabama number 5, Tennessee number 7, Kentucky number 8, Mississippi State number 10, A&M 12. I think I got 7 SEC schools in my top 12, 9 in the top 23. It's super strong, and that's why it keeps getting the attention that it gets. Most of the best basketball teams in the country call the SEC home this season.
That leads me to my next segment here. Rank them, because there's an SEC team involved here. These are 3 teams that won over the weekend, that received votes last week, weren't in the AP top 25 this week. I want to know if any of them are in your top 25-1, even if some's been in for a few days. Inform the audience. So 3 teams that fit this category. Georgia wins 72-62 over Oklahoma. Bulldogs are 14-2. Sold out Garden on Saturday night. St. John's ends on a 14-3 run in the final 2 minutes to beat Villanova 80-68. RJ Lewis, 30 points, 10 boards. Davon Smith had a shoulder issue, but didn't hold him back there. Nova got 22 from Moga Poplar. Eric Dixon finished with 18. It wasn't enough. Rank the Johnnies, I say. They're 14-3 overall, 5-1 in the Big East for the first time since 2001. So Georgia, rank them. Johnnies, rank them. And then Friday night, Wisconsin beats Minnesota as expected, 80-59. But Wisconsin has won 5 in a row and is 13-3. So they were all knocking on the door to varying effects last week. I think they all will be ranked in the AP Top 25 on Monday. How many are in your Top 25?
Okay, Georgia was already in and is now up to number 23 as of today. Wisconsin was already in and is at number 24 as of today. St. John's moved in this morning and is at number 26. The Johnnies have strong computer numbers. The losses aren't bad. One loss to Baylor, one loss to Georgia, at Creighton by a point. So, like, all 3 losses are in quadrant 1. 2 of the losses are to teams ranked ahead of you, at least in the top 25 and 1. And the other loss is a true road loss by 1 point. That's also falls in quadrant 1. The issue for them is they don't have great wins. They only have 1 quadrant 1 win right now. But with strong computer numbers, no bad losses, it's reasonable to rank them. I had them at 26. And if they are higher than that in the AP poll, 25 or better, that won't surprise me at all.
All right, let's go to the Maui bump. There are 2 teams that have not lost since I saw them in person out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. That's Iowa State and Michigan State. Michigan State went into Welsh Ryan. It just walked in. I mean, it walked into Welsh Ryan on Sunday, beat Northwestern 78-68. It wasn't even that close. Michigan State is 14-2. It has won 8 in a row. It is beating teams by 16 points on average. And then Iowa State played Texas Tech. I pulled in the driveway, and just as this game was going to OT, I saw the Taman Lipsy dish in traffic, gets it to Joshua Jefferson, who just barely gets it off, gets the layup in, 74 all game. It gets to overtime. Iowa State gets points with like 6 seconds to go after the foul. Darren Williams of Texas Tech gets that rushed lefty push in the lane running. It goes long. Tech can't get it done. 11-4. Yet Texas Tech, interesting team. Don't know what quite to make of them. Yet to beat a projected NCAA tournament team. Credit to Curtis Jones with 26 points off the bench. We talked about National Player of the Year candidates, those on the outskirts. Iowa State has like 3 of them. I don't, whether you want to give it to Gilbert or Curtis Jones. Lipsy is the straw that stirs the drink in many ways. I would still lean Gilbert, but a big-time performance by Jones. Iowa State will set a program record, by the way, on Monday when it gets to number 2 in the AP Top 25. It has never been ranked that high as a program there. Iowa State, Texas Tech. I didn't see all the games, but that was, to me, one of the 3 best games of the weekend. Any thoughts on them or Sparty?
Yeah, well, I mean, some of the stuff we've just talked about it, and we've said it all. Like with Iowa State, they just keep doing what they do, which is win. They just win. They keep winning. Like they have a 2. As a reminder to our listeners, if you forgot, and if you're an Iowa State fan, I know you haven't. They have 1 loss by 2 points to Auburn. That's it. And they could have very easily won that game. They are so close to being undefeated and considered, universally the best team in the country. It's just awesome to see them continually get it done. Texas Tech should have won that game from what I could tell, but what happened in the first 2 halves there. Sorry to interrupt you, GP, but it is. I refuse to take Iowa State for granted, particularly me of all people, because of how consistent. Like Altenberger has a system. They get it done. They share the sugar, and on any given night, they really can be a different person, providing a number of different things that leads to the win. They're 4-0 in the Big 12. Texas Tech should have won the game. They were up much of the second half. I don't say it's a miracle. It's not a miracle. I think a miracle is like walking on water or rising from the dead. So it's not a miracle, but it was unlikely that they would even get it to overtime. You saw the play, how they got there. Yeah. And then, it was just a missed floater at the buzzer. You take that shot every time. Yeah. You just missed it. But yeah, I mean, they look like they're the class of the Big 12. And I believe Auburn will be number 1 in the AP poll on Monday. I did leave Auburn at number 1 in the top 25 and 1 this morning, even after the loss of Johni Broome, because I'm just not going to punish somebody for losing a player until the results are impacted. Like I didn't drop UConn for losing Liam McNeely to an ankle injury, and I'm not going to drop Auburn for losing Johni Broome to an ankle injury until the results dictate that. But I'm not insisting that you shouldn't or that you can't or that it's dumb to. So if enough AP voters decide, well, like Auburn doesn't have his best player. I'm not going to keep them number one. It's supposed to be a snapshot of the sport. And there ain't no way the best team in the country is a team missing its best player. So I'm just going with somebody else. If you subscribe to that logic and want to move somebody else to number one, Iowa State is a great choice. And if not Iowa State, it could be Duke, obviously.
Let's keep it moving elsewhere. These are all, I've got 6 results, all road wins of note. I think the most surprising one is USC beating Illinois 82-72. No Kasper Siakachonis. That plays a major factor for Illinois. Desmond Claude exploding for 31 for the Trojans, who beat their first team ranked on the road since 2010. Hell of a win for Eric Musselman's program there, and really one of the more surprising wins we may see. Like, look back, end of February. Maybe USC will turn into a pretty good team, but that was a little bit of a shocker. Other road wins of note: Carolina beats NC State 63-61. Ian Jackson had another game, 20-plus points. He played well. I tell you what, Jalen Washington had, he got a dish underneath. He what amounted to the game-winning dunk, and then on the other end of the floor, he gets the game-clinching swat. His first double-double of the season. He's a starting big man, and for him, it looked like it was a moment of catharsis for Washington, maybe for UNC, that they had a big man show up in a big moment. Carolina 5-1 in its past 6. The Tar Heels are going to the NCAAs. By the way, did you see? I got more results, but did you see he did it, and then either the Wolves down? Were you familiar? This was a thing, not horns down, but all the Carolina players, or at least 3 or 4 of them. Washington swats it away. The game is over. Kevin Keats is looking for what I think he thought might have been a goaltend on the Washington swat, which it was not a goaltend. And then they all start doing this.
Hey.
Start almost down.
Yeah, I'm for that. I'm for anything down. I don't know. I wasn't aware that was a thing, but now I am, and now I will incorporate it to my own day-to-day life.
Love it. Louisville won 82-78 at Pitt. I believe it was Will Warren who pointed this out on Twitter to us. Louisville, I think, is 7-1. Since Pat Kelsey pointed out that he's got a really hot wife. I don't know if those things correlate, but that is a really, really good win for the Cardinals. 6 straight wins. They're 5-1. They are 5-1 in the ACC right now. They have defeated Clemson. They have defeated Carolina. They have defeated Pitt. Rain Smith hit 7 3-pointers, had 25 points. That is a confidence-boosting win. Louisville seems to be getting stronger and more capable as the weeks go by. Really good by them. And then a couple other road ones of note. Kansas beating Cincinnati 54-40. Cincinnati had 1 point, a single point in the final 8 minutes. But I tell you what, Kansas looks like a team that's changed defensively. It has been exceedingly impressive against UCF, Arizona State, and Cincinnati. Now, how good those 3 teams collectively wind up being, we'll see. But it is, you play in league play and you're away from home and you hold the other team to 1 point per minute. That is a really nice development for KU. Cincinnati, what the hell's going on? This is supposed to be a top 30 team, and it has lost itself over the past couple of weeks. UConn wins 68-60 at Georgetown. Alex Fairbairn had 19. UConn had a 17-2 run to start the second half, put the game away. It wasn't even as close as the final score indicated there, but it was the best crowd that Capital One Arena had in a long time. More than 17,000 reportedly. That was the announced crowd. So even if it was inflated, they easily got, more than 14K into the building, and that's a huge win for Georgetown's program. Not yet ready for that kind of game. No shame in it. And then I gave it a mention on Friday's show. Shouts to the Big West. UC Irvine went on the road and ended the longest winning streak in the country as of Saturday by beating UC San Diego 60-52. Those are 2 really good Big West teams, 2 Big West teams that are top 70 at KenPom. One of those 2 will probably be a trendy 13 seed level pick, maybe even a 12 seed, because UC San Diego has that win over 1 loss, Utah State. But now Iowa State, 11 in a row, holds the longest winning streak in the country. I got a couple more I want to get to, but those were all road wins by notable teams. What do you take from it?
I just feel sick for the Cincinnati area, what they're going through right now. Major internet problems.
Oh, are you about to clue me in on something that I had no idea was a thing?
Oh, we had a little stretch. Is maybe like a week to 10 days where every morning Cincinnati fans were calling me the biggest idiot on the planet. And I was like, well, guys, I have your team like 28th or 29th, but you really ain't, you ain't done so much. I mean, I see your computer numbers, but you ain't done so much. And then they would call me an idiot and say I look like a penis. And I was just like, okay, whatever. I love Nick Van Exel, so I don't know why you guys are mad at me. All right. Yes. And now I haven't heard from them. And I'm just worried about them. I think they all lost their Twitter logins and they don't know how to do the 2-step authentication.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't know how to get back in. They've been locked out of their Twitter account. It happens. But I hope they can get all that straightened out in the greater Cincinnati area because I like those people up there.
4 losses in a row for the Bearcats, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just hope they get their Wi-Fi fixed. That's all. I miss them. You ever lost a pet? You ever lost a pet?
Knock on wood. Thankfully no.
Okay, good. Actually do. I would advise you to lose a pet. No, because the only way you can lose a pet is to have a pet. I'm a big believer in dogs.
Well, we got a pup. Shouts to Lana.
Yeah, shouts to Lana. I'm a big believer. I'm a dog owner, and
Should I bring my dog up to this podcast right now? Should I go bring her up? She's never been on the pod. No?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, we don't need to. I'm not saying I was dying to do it, but it occurred to me. My child made an unexpected cameo earlier this season.
Yeah.
My dog's getting up there. Maybe I'd try and get her on the show before the end.
I know, but then you do that, and then it would make me want to put my dog on the show, but I'm in New York and not at home. Then it would make me miss my dog.
There we go. Maybe when we're both at home, let's give the people what they want, which is not to see us in our soccer college basketball, it's to see our pets. I think
Is it weird that when I FaceTime my family, I do FaceTime with my dog too?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm like, Luca, hey buddy. Hey Lukey. Hey,
I'm gonna need a picture of your dog, your little Lukey, because I'm gonna put it in the no context preview for social media.
I'm gonna send you that.
All right.
Here's the point I was making. I've lost dogs. And the weirdest thing about losing a dog is that you just notice they're not there. Like you just wake up and it's like, where is Piper? And it's like, oh yeah, she's not alive anymore. Where is Lola? She didn't make it. Where is Mick? They're not there. That's the way it is for me with Cincinnati fans right now. I wake up and they were there every day, and I just got used to it. It was just like, well, here they are. This is get my coffee, brush my teeth, read some insults from Cincinnati fans, and they're just not there anymore, and it's weird. It just feels different,
Okay. A few more results of note, and then I want to talk quickly Cronin before we get out of here, and then go watch this Eagles-Packers game. Go Birds. Iowa wins 85-60 over Indiana. It's the biggest win for Iowa versus Indiana since 96. Hawkeyes are 12-4 every year. Get a couple of these high major teams off the radar in the preseason. Don't really play a game or have a big result of note in November and December. Then you look up, 2-3 weeks into January, like, is this going to be team going to be in the tournament? Maybe Iowa will be that team. They have had 80 points in 10 straight games. It's the first time since this is the second 88-89 season reference on today's podcast. It was the last time John Calipari started 0-3 in league play, and it's also the last time Iowa went at least 10 straight games with 80 or more points. They're looking really, really good. 26-2 fast break advantage for the Hawkeyes versus the Hoosiers. They were way better on the boards. Peyton Sanford had 23, but Owen Freeman, shouts to you. 16 points, 12 boards, 4 blocks, 3 steals. I had this game on. I was following the SEC stuff. I was following the playoffs as well, but I was, for as much of a non-game as it was, I was still trying to keep eyes on Iowa, and they looked really, really good. And then a great note from Zach Osterman, who does a wonderful job and has for a number of years covering this program. 12 of 31 losses for Mike Woodson in league play. 12 of 31. So more than 30, call it 35%. And he's only been on the job 3+ years, have been by at least 15 points. I still think Indiana's going to be okay, and they're going to make the tournament. They're not going to hit the preseason expectations, which was frankly a seed that's 1 through 5, right? 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 line. I don't think they're going to do that. You look at the schedule, it's a little bit worrisome what they didn't do in non-con. I'm here to give Iowa some love. You can take the other side if you want, because Indiana absolutely no-showed on the road in Hawker Carvi Hawker, whatever it is. Carver Hawkeye? Carver Hawkeye.
I think it's Carver Hawkeye, which I love that name. It just sounds...
I was going to say it rolls off the tongue. For me, it absolutely does not.
Yeah. I just said, it's like, hey, let's just combine some stuff, and that's what we'll call the arena.
Combine a dude's last name and our logo.
Yes. It'd be like if they named the Memphis Arena after me, but it was called...
Of course. You could have picked anyone in the world, but let's say they named something after... Let's say they named a building after me.
Well, I mean, I got a billboard in Orlando. You don't think a building's coming next?
Okay.
You don't think a building's coming next? It would be like if they called it Parish Tigers Arena. Wouldn't that be weird? It's just sort of a weird thing. Parish Tiger Arena. That's what Carver Hawkeye is.
That's what it is.
It's kind of wild. No, the Indiana thing, it feels like this is what it's going to be until they move on. Is that
maybe. And we don't have to harp too much. We're going to have plenty of time to talk Hoosiers. This was the first loss since December 13th. Let's keep that in mind. But home Illinois, at Ohio State, at Northwestern, home Maryland, at Purdue, at Wisconsin is upcoming. So we're going to have no shortage of opportunities to talk about the Hoosiers no matter what they do. But just non-competitive is not what you want to see. And it's been a feature of Woodson's tenure where they are routinely getting blowed out against league opponents, and nothing's changed in that regard so far.
Right. So, I don't know. I'm not even trying to joke around. I haven't paid that much of attention to like how Indiana fans are feeling about where this is at, but it just feels like they've been in this state of really when was the last time Indiana fans were excited? Maybe heading into the season because they thought they had put together an NIL roster.
I think that's fair. I think there was still apprehension.
Yeah.
Like unabashed enthusiasm for the state of the program. How long has it been? I don't know. Indiana,
it's been a minute.
It feels like it's been a minute. Yeah.
It's been a minute. And big win for Iowa, but the story is Indiana getting beat like that.
I'm sure Indiana fans will appreciate that I'm about to bring up the fact that Purdue absolutely destroyed Nebraska, but it's notable because it was a 104-68 win. Boilers were 19 of 33 from 3-point range. Braden Smith had 14 dimes. CJ Cox had a really good game, 23 points, 4 steals. Just a reminder, like the Big Ten it really is going to be an awesome race to see who finishes first, second, third. Purdue putting together quite the run here to remind folks like they're still very much a factor. Michigan had no issues with Washington earlier today. Like there's a lot of teams. We talked about Michigan State, Illinois, in spite of the loss to USC. We'll see when Yakachonis is back. A lot of compelling drama there, but Purdue did get it done. Indiana the opposite. And then a couple more of note. Utah State, 16-1. That was on our air on Saturday, 81-79. I'm going to call it a spoiler of a win because I know you were watching minute by minute as it played out. They get a 4-point play to clinch it, to beat Boise State, and I thought the Broncos were gonna pull that out. And I actually thought it would have been better for the Mountain West if Boise State could have gone on the road, gotten a quad 1 win, and boosted its resume in the process. Because I'm thinking that league's going to wind up being a 3-bid league. But New Mexico got a win, 62-48 over San Diego State, which I also thought was important. Lobos have won 7 in a row. They had a blow by of the Aztecs, and they remain unbeaten in the league. But that was a couple of good Mountain West results. Any anecdotes from the studio or otherwise on the Mountain West stuff?
Well, Utah State, Boise State was our last game of the day on CBS Sports Network. So we were in studio for that, watching it. Then we did a 30-minute Inside College Basketball. But you mentioned Utah State is 16-1 now, 6-0 in the league. And this is their 3rd coach in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I know you know all this, but I'm certain somebody doesn't. 26-9 under Ryan Odom. He leaves. They hire Danny Sprinkle, 28-7. He leaves. They hired Jared Calhoun, 16-1. Utah State is 70-17 the past 3 seasons with 3 different coaches. That's insane.
It is. I know. It is. You want a trivia time?
Trivia time.
I haven't finished the research on this. This will be in a court report soon.
Did I just screw up your court report?
You didn't. It's fine.
I did that one time last year. What
you did? You do it actually once a year annual, but this is like.
Was it Miles? Was it Miles Rice? It was Miles Rice. I screwed up Miles Rice.
But good memory. When's the last team to have 3 coaches in 3 years make the tournament? It happened this century.
Okay. Ooh, this century.
Power conference program
happened this century.
Yep.
It feels like there's going to be a. Ooh.
Give it to me.
I want to say Texas, but I don't think it's right.
It's not Texas.
Okay, could be.
I thought you were on the right track there.
I thought maybe we could get a Shaka Smart, Chris Beard, Rodney Terry thing. Are you sure that's not right?
Hold on, let me look. It would be amazing if this is right, and I didn't get to this point yet. It's
going to come down to whether Beard went in his first year.
It is correct. Yeah, Shaka Smart, Chris Beard, Rodney Terry, 3 coaches in 3 years. That happened. That happened. That didn't happen. So yeah, that's the most recent example.
Okay,
but again, I knew that there was. I have started to look across a number of different leagues. So I had not yet gotten to technically I have not looked at the SEC yet, where Texas is. So it's not like I looked and I didn't see it. I just hadn't gotten to that point because it's not fully fleshed out. There's another one, high major. I'll just give it to you here. Arizona. This was random as hell. In fact, I was surprised. Like this really did happen. Arizona did it in Lute Olson's final year. Then Kevin O'Neill was there for 1 season. And then Russ Pennell, remember he was the interim. He did it. And then what I'm really curious on is Miller made it his 2nd year. How many programs have gone to 4 tournaments in 5 years with 4 coaches? Utah State is on the verge of doing that. I'm sure it's happened, but it just seems exceedingly rare that would have happened. So credit to Utah State. There's something in the water out there in Logan, and to me, I'm fascinated by that kind of stuff. It's because those are high majors that we were talking about. Has this ever happened in a mid major? They might be on the verge of something unprecedented.
Like, first off, I don't care who your coach is. At Utah State in 3 years, you're never supposed to go 70-17.
I know.
And now it appears it doesn't matter who the coach is. They go 70-17. I'm moving to Logan, man. Everybody who goes to Logan, their life gets better. That's what I gather. I'm moving.
We have talked about that on the show. Touchdown Birds, by the way. Let's go. Knock these Packers out of the playoffs, please. Let's wrap on this. I was in College Park Friday night. Maryland beat UCLA. It was an okay game for some of it. And then Cronin was, he was histrionic for much of the evening. What do you want? UCLA lost its third in a row, 79-61. It was a much closer game until he got ejected. With about 8 minutes and change, UCLA calls timeout, and then teams separate. They go to the huddles, and Cronin is laying into Jeffrey Anderson, who, if you don't know the ref by name, he's the ref that tends to, they call him the high knees ref. When he runs up and down the floor, he really gets the legs pumping. I love it. Listen, do your calisthenics right there while you're getting your job done. No problem for me. Anderson takes it. Cronin is laying into, I'm watching it. It had to be 60 seconds in real time. He is just giving it to him relentlessly. And credit to Anderson, he just let him do it. And then I tracked it. It was 11 minutes in real time later, but with 5:14 to go, Cronin believes that Julian Reese pushed and nudged his guy, William Kyle. There's no foul called, and then he wants the hell out of there. So he gets tossed. Maryland wins. They stop the bleeding after a 2-game losing streak. Now UCLA is 11-5. It's dropped 4-5, and the win in there, by the way, is against Gonzaga. So I talked to Cronin after. It was just me, Ben Bolch, who's the longtime beat writer for the LA Times. He's there, and an AP writer was there as well. So he didn't have a post-game press conference because on the road, there's just not a big enough media contingent. So on the road, Cronin can't duplicate what he did at home when there's all this LA-based media to do it. So he just, outside the locker room, we talked to him for about 12 minutes. And it was an interesting 12 minutes. I have a column up at cbssports.com that I wrote about this. A lot going on with this program right now. A very high profile week for Mick Cronin. I would say as stressful a week as he's ever had. I asked him that. He didn't directly answer the question, but he was also he was a bit scattered, which is to be expected because he revealed publicly for the first time that, at the time that we were doing this interview, his house, he lives in Encino, California, and his house was at threat of being evacuated. I actually checked in with Cronin earlier today. He said everything's still okay there, relatively speaking, and where he lives. But after his press conference on Tuesday night, he went home, packed everything he could of value that he could put into, a few bags, and those bags are still by his front door. And I want to be clear about this. He was not using the LA Fires to make any kind of excuse, nor is he looking for that whatsoever about how UCLA has played. But I think a natural reaction to see how UCLA is slumping again. Cronin had a week in which he publicly called his players delusional, soft, went after his staff, and basically said, I'm the only one worth a damn in this program. He does that at one press conference, which gets widespread response. Then his team goes on the road. He gets ejected. Afterward, he says the whistle wasn't fair. He hated the officiating crew. He's got issues with the travel in the Big Ten. At the same time, he said, I've been in these leagues. This reminds me of the Big East. You're going to take losing streaks like this. All that matters is we got to get through this and we got to make the tournament. And then if we're as good as I think we are, we're going to do some damage there. There's just a lot going on here. If you want to say Cronin's time might have passed, does this dude even want to coach this program anymore? I'm open to having that conversation once we get past the real world immediacy of what he's dealing with, because, as he said, he's got a really close friend that he gave his Nike password to so he could basically go get gear to dress his family because their house burned down and they don't have anything. Right. So I understand all the criticism for Cronin. I even agree with some of it, but it is landing at this time where he happens to be, and it's not just him, it's everyone on the staff, it's some players on the roster that know people that have lost their houses, and they're on the other side of the country on what so happens to no one could have expected this. It's just poorly timed. they played at Maryland. They're going to play at Rutgers on Monday night. By the way, quick look ahead. It's the only game of note on Monday before we talk to you again on Tuesday for our show on CBS Sports Network. So there's just a lot there with this program and with Cronin at present. I don't know when they break free of this. Maybe Rutgers is exactly the team they kind of need, but there's two parallel things kind of going on, GP, where you got the very heavy real world stuff with Cronin on the ground and UCLA and everyone in the athletic department. And then that's coinciding with him just again, quasi relapsing into some behavior that has a lot of people saying like, what the hell is going on? Like, take it away. But last anecdote is like, there was a couple of NBA executives at the game on Friday night that I was talking to beforehand, just standing around watching the teams warm up. And two of them were like, I'm going to paraphrase here, but they were basically like, he can't keep doing like this is going to kill him in recruiting. Like why would he continue to do this after last year? Like it's 1 year, kind of get it, whatever. But that's just who he is. And he's unapologetic for it. What do you make of anything that happened Friday or with Cronin or everything I just laid out?
The way you phrased it was we have these parallel things. And I think that's a good way to put it, because I do think they are parallel things. They're two things that are happening, but I don't think they're got much to do with each other. But I do think that like what he's dealing with in real life is impacting what he's doing as the coach of UCLA. That's the only thing I forgot to mention. Yeah. I do think there is a very heavy connective thread between those two things. Maybe. I guess it would be presumptuous of me. How could it not? How could having that much anxiety and stress in your personal life not affect what you're doing on the job when it's so like that story in LA is it's borderline apocalyptic how much burning and destruction there's been, Yeah, I guess clearly when your home is at threat, and even if your home is safe, the city you call home will never be the same. Mm-hmm. That's stressful, obviously. And it would impact your mood and everything else, clearly. It's just that, if Scott Drew just cussed out a referee and got thrown out of a game because Waco was on fire, I'd be like, that's way out of character for Scott Drew. This Waco stuff might be weighing on him. This is way in character for Mick Cronin. Everything that has happened this week is in character for Mick Cronin. So I'm not insisting that the fires don't play a role, because that is horrific and scary. And, I'm watching all these videos. There's the thing and some gossip thing somewhere where it's like, Hollywood stars, they're just like us, and it's just like, there's Nicole Kidman at a Trader Joe's or something, whatever. Well, it's like, I'm watching this video of Dennis Quaid just packing up his car with his daughter's clothes. Just watching these people that are suddenly, they are just like us. They're worried about the same stuff we're worried about. People at that level don't often deal with the same worries most Americans deal with, right? And suddenly everybody's got the same fears. Everybody's got the same concerns. Mick falls into that bucket, I understand. But I would stop short of connecting these dots entirely, because I think what's more true is that throughout Mick's coaching career, he has almost always been good. I mean, there's very few bad seasons that exist. But once he got really good, I think if you go back and look at any season that didn't go smoothly, it gets like this. I don't know that and this isn't a criticism. I say this as someone who has known Mick for a long time and likes Mick. I got my own personality stuff too, we all, or most of us do. I don't know that he is best equipped to handle when things aren't going the way he envisions them going. And he just he gets to this spot. This isn't the first time he's said things like this. It's not the first time he's done things like this, but it is the first time he's said things and done like this since the last time things were not going well.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And last season was that time, 16 and 17. They were underwater. We can wrap, but basically, I asked him a few questions in the post game, and I wanted to get to more of like, all right, Mick, where are we at? Like, where are you at right now running this program? And when I asked him that, then that's when he's like, he not, again, as a way of lending perspective to like how the week had been for the program. And they had people that traveled with him to the game that had lost their homes. He's like, listen, like basketball is so secondary right now. The anecdote that I led the story with was he gets kicked out of the game and he was pissed off about the officiating and all that. And there's stuff there that's kind of like, come on, Mick. But he walks into the locker room and immediately pulls up his phone, and there's this app called Watch Duty that's added, I think, like close to 1 million, if not 1 million users in the past week, because it apparently has become the most reliable real-time information provider for every neighborhood, where the fires are, how they're spreading, people on the move, whatever. So he pulls it up immediately just to see, before the game, the fires were encroaching upon the mountain adjacent to Encino, and it really did paint a pretty stark picture of, like, normally a coach will get tossed and maybe the game they can pull it up in the locker room, or they hit the showers immediately, whatever they do, and here it was like, let me check in with my longtime significant other girlfriend and make sure everything's still okay there. So it's just, there's a lot going on with UCLA right now, and it's become a different kind of story in the realm of college basketball. We'll see if they can right their wrongs on the court. Again, they play at Rutgers. Man, oh man, talk about a desperate. That is a super. It's the only game of note really on Monday, and it is a super desperate game. This is a bookend. We had started Friday's show talking about Rutgers, and the Sunday show talking about UCLA. They square off in Piscataway on Monday night.
Yeah, so that's a good place for us to just start looking ahead. On Monday, UCLA at Rutgers. I mean, I did not think about this in this way until you framed it that way, but like, neither team needs a loss. Both teams really need to get this win.
Yep.
And I don't know if you know how basketball works, but only one of them can.
I'm aware.
Okay. That's basically it on Monday night, beyond Vikings-Rams NFL wildcard game. On Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern, we'll have another 1 hour episode of the Eye on College Basketball Podcast on CBS Sports Network. So make sure you tune in for that. And then on Tuesday night, it is funny, like, me and Wally Zerbiak were talking about this last night. When you start looking at big, like, oh man, the schedule's loaded today, it usually comes down to, like, so when did the SEC play again? Because like Saturday's schedule was ridiculous. And then on Tuesday, we get more SEC games. So like, here's just some of them. Number 14, and these rankings will update on Monday, but as of right now, number 14, Mississippi State at number 2, Auburn. That'll probably be at number 1, Auburn. Number 23, Ole Miss at number 5, Alabama. Number 10, Texas A&M at number 6, Kentucky. So you've got just right there, 3 on Tuesday, 3 top 25 matchups, just originating in the SEC. Outside of that, on CBS Sports Network, we got Marquette at DePaul. The DePaul thing's taking a turn. That was fun for a minute.
Yeah, it's all right.
0-6. Yeah, no. Well, yeah. I mean, just more than 1 year. Like, I'm happy to give it time. We're just gonna have to give it more time than 1 year.
No, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. No, I'm not like, hey, what is going on at DePaul? But 0-6 now in the Big East. Marquette on CBS Sports Network. The Golden Eagles right now ranked 7th in the AP poll, probably moving up when it updates on Monday. Tuesday night, also in other leagues on other networks, number 13 Illinois is at Indiana. We've referenced that, a big game. Cooper Flagg back on the court, 9 o'clock Eastern. Miami at Duke on Tuesday night.
That's a show.
Let's go watch some football.
That's right.
You want to watch some football? Let's watch some football. Shouts to Devin Downey.
Oh, I have one more thing.
Oh, God.
Man, I wanted to put this in. I wanted to say it earlier. The voting for best podcast ends on Monday. It ends on Monday. Have you voted?
Of course.
Have to vote. You have not. You need to vote for your own podcast. It does. I'm dead serious. It does not take long to vote for this. You can do it in less than 60 seconds. We will have the description in this episode. If you're listening, bring it up right now. It will be literally the first thing. Go through. It does not even take 60 seconds. Best podcast. Please vote for us. We appreciate you so much. I wanted to get that in like 50 minutes ago, and hell, this was GP 80-minute Sunday. There was a lot to get to. I hope we left plenty of meat on the bone for Tuesday's episode, because we're gonna have one game to talk about. We might have done more here than we really needed to, but whatever.
Oh, you kidding me? You ready? I got Tuesday's episode. You ready?
Well,
so who's the player of the year? Johni Broome or Cooper Flagg? I mean, a lot of the stuff we just have to repackage for television. You know that, don't you?
I know. I should have.
So for the like hardcore 80-minute on a Sunday afternoon podcast listeners, just know that on Tuesday we will repeat some of this stuff, but it is by design. It's a television show. We have to,
switching my answer for Tuesday just to spice it up.
There you go.
Give me Cam Jones. Let's go.
Well, GP, I think you're overlooking Mark Sears, right?
All right, for real, that's a show.
All right. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Terry Teagle, he's a legend. Huck Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching, listening to the Ion College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, it's a nice night here in New York. Looks nice out there.
Yeah, it's a good night here in Connecticut too.
If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe. Anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, Apple and Spotify. There's more of us than there are of them. That should be reflected in the comments. So go do that. We're going to talk to you again on Tuesday. Till then, take care.